Come on in, you guys. We got a brand new episode of Jimmy Rants in store for you here today. JimmyRants.com is the website. If you want to engage live in the content, you got to go follow me over on Instagram Live. I am Livin' Low Carb Man, LIVIN LOWCARBMAN. Once you are there, you can join live just like Linda and Karen and Devin and JS00921. So many people coming in right now. Thank you guys for being here today on Jimmy Rants. We're also simulcasting live over on my Facebook page over here. So thank you guys for being here as well. If you missed the live, you can watch it on replay for up to 24 hours on Instagram. After 24 hours, pop on over to JimmyRants.com. That's where we house all the past episodes in archived form. We also throw them up on YouTube. So you can type in a keyword search Jimmy Rants on YouTube and you will find the show. So speaking of YouTube, I posted this on social media this morning. The CEO of YouTube went on CNN sometime this week and she made an interesting proclamation, you guys. With COVID-19 and all the people out there talking about it, the coronavirus, they are trying to crack down on what they deem as misinformation about COVID-19. And so in the misinformation about this, they feel like anything that runs counter to what the World Health Organization has to say about COVID-19, anything that runs counter to that will be deleted and removed permanently from YouTube. Now, is that disturbing? Like, I know those of you watching on the replay on YouTube, did you know that the CEO of YouTube is basically making these decisions, that this is now official policy, that if you make any claims regarding COVID-19 and that go against what the World Health Organization has to say about anything regarding it, that they could, by that policy, remove your video. That's kind of scary, you guys. Like, who gets to determine, no, not who, World Health Organization, who, but who in general, the general question, who gets to decide who is telling the truth? What's a misinformation versus what's truth, what's false? Who decides that information? And apparently, according to YouTube's CEO, it's the World Health Organization. So, in light of that interesting revelation, I thought, okay, let's take a look at what the World Health Organization stands for and believes in about nutrition. And in fact, they made this little graphic. It's going all over the internet. It's truncated a little bit at the top and bottom, but it's got the main points there. And this is from the World Health Organization, nutrition advice for adults during COVID-19. So you could say this is something that the World Health Organization promotes as true. See if any of it sounds true to you. Eat unsaturated fats primarily, fish, avocados, nuts, olive oil, soy, canola oil, sunflower oil, and corn oil. That's their first bit of advice. Don't eat saturated fats like fatty meats, butter, palm and coconut oil, cream, cheese, ghee, and lard. And don't eat industrially produced trans fats like processed food, fast food, snack food, fried food, frozen pizza, pies, cookies, margarines, and spread. So that's their nutrition advice for COVID-19. They literally put out this graphic and it's going all over the internet. I put it up on my stories the other day. And that is now official nutrition policy as it relates to COVID-19. So if we're not supposed to go against what World Health Organization is saying regarding anything with COVID-19, they're putting out nutrition advice for people making videos. What if you run counter to what they're saying with their nutrition advice? So for this Jimmy Rants, I thought, and I went right on the World Health Organization website and I printed out what they think is a healthy diet, and we're going to go over all their beliefs, which begs the question, if they have beliefs that run counter to what you and I believe in, they eat keto, carnivore, paleo, real food and not believe some of the things in here, and we create video content that runs counter to that, which you guys know I make a lot of video content that runs counter to some of the things we're about to share here, what would stop them from removing my videos? What would stop them from taking this crisis situation with COVID-19, and when all of this is over, continuing that policy because it goes against what the World Health Organization wants? Who died and made them God? Who made them the final arbiter when it comes to the things that they're talking about? Why is their truth more valid than someone else who's speaking their thoughts? All right, let's get into this. So this was from October 2018 when they wrote this healthy diet, but it still applies what they believe now. So again, I'm reading from the World Health Organization directly from their website, what they believe about nutrition, and what you're going to quickly find out is all of this stuff is very unscientific. No randomized controlled clinical trials has shown any of this stuff to be valid, and yet these are the people we're being told are infallible, irrefutable. All right. Consuming a healthy diet throughout the life course helps to prevent malnutrition in all forms, as well as a range of diseases and conditions. However, increased production of processed foods, rapid urbanization, changing lifestyles had led to a shift in dietary patterns. People now consume more foods that are high in energy, that's calories, fats, free sugars, and salt and sodium, and many people do not eat enough fruit, vegetables, and other dietary fibers such as whole grains. So the exact makeup of a diversified, balanced, and healthy diet will vary depending on individual characteristics such as age, gender, lifestyle, physical activity, cultural content, locally available foods, and the dietary customs. However, the basic principles of what constitutes a healthy diet remain the same. So you guys ready for this? They start with adults. So this is what they think adults should be doing in their diet in order to be healthy. And if you're joining us late, we're going over what the World Health Organization sees is a healthy diet. And the reason we're doing this is we're being told by the CEO of YouTube that they are citing the World Health Organization as the authority. And if you run counter with any video you make, you run counter to what they believe is true, then they will remove your video from YouTube. Now, obviously, they're applying it to COVID-19, but they did put out nutrition advice for adults for COVID-19. So if I say something that runs counter to eat unsaturated fats, don't eat saturated fats, and don't eat industrially produced trans fats, if I say anything that runs counter to that, what would stop them under that policy from deleting this very video right here once it's on YouTube? All right, so let's see what they have to say. A healthy diet, according to the World Health Organization, includes fruits, vegetables, legumes, which are lentils and beans, nuts, and whole grains, including millet, oats, wheat, brown rice, and unprocessed maize. It also includes at least 5 portions of fruit and vegetables per day, excluding potatoes, sweet potatoes, cassava, and starchy roots. Your total energy intake from free sugars should be less than 10%, which is equivalent to about 12 teaspoons of sugar. I don't eat 12 teaspoons of sugar at all. Like 12 teaspoons of sugar, that's a lot of sugar in my opinion. For a person of healthy body weight, consuming 2,000 calories per day, but ideally they want you to have 5% of your total energy intake for added health benefits. So instead of 12 teaspoons, 6 teaspoons. Free sugars are the sugars added to sugars added to fruits and drinks by the manufacturer, cooked or consumer made, as well as sugars found naturally in honey, syrup, fruit juice, and fruit juice concentrates. Very interesting there. They don't mention the sugar found in fruit, just fruit juice and fruit juice concentrate. Sugar in fruit is still sugar. Sugar found in starchy foods is still sugar. But they don't count that in their percentage trying to limit it. Only the added sugars. I've always hated that phrase added sugar because they pretend like that the sugar that's found naturally in things like fruit doesn't have consequences. Ask a type 1 diabetic if they could have unlimited fruit because the sugar in there doesn't count. Oh, it counts. It counts a lot. You also must include less than 30% of your total energy intake coming from fats. When you do choose fats, choose ones that are unsaturated fats, like we just mentioned. They are preferable to the saturated ones, again, like we just mentioned, and the trans fats of all kinds, including industrially produced ones that are found in baked goods and ruminant trans fats. Get this, there are naturally occurring trans fats found in meat and dairy foods from ruminant animals like cows, sheep, goats, and camels. In other words, they don't want you consuming animal-based foods. And this is another little dirty secret about the World Health Organization. They are run by a bunch of friggin' vegans. And I mean, not just like casual vegans, oh, isn't it great, let's save the planet, let's save the animals. They are rabid in their beliefs that they don't want anybody to be consuming animal foods. And so now this is the standard bearer, according to YouTube CEO, by which we need to be paying attention and following all the dictates that they have to say at the World Health Organization. And if you run counter to them, you're going to be blocked and deleted and your videos removed. This is a slippery slope, you guys, and I'm hoping you're seeing with me reading what they believe about diet. What would stop them from taking all of us who make keto videos down? What would stop them from basically banning all carnivores from talking on video on YouTube? And if it starts with YouTube and YouTube sets the precedent, what stops them from doing it on Facebook? What stops them from doing it on Instagram? Now, some people will say, well, you're sounding pretty alarmist. They would never do this. You want to bet? Like, think about in times of crises, this is when action takes place. This is when they get emboldened and say, well, nobody's paying attention that we're doing this and we can do this on the down low. The problem is the CEO of YouTube went on CNN and pretty much spilled her guts and said, oh yeah, we're going to take you down if you run counter to the World Health Organization. What? Like, I believe they were doing that even before she made that proclamation about this. It is suggested that the intake of saturated fats be reduced to less than 10% of total energy intake, which is what they're pretty much proposing for the 2020 dietary guidelines that will be coming out later this year. Trans fats less than 1% of your intake. In particular, the industrial trans fats are not a part of a healthy diet and should be completely avoided, which I do agree with that. Then they add about salt, less than 5 grams of salt, which is equivalent to 1 teaspoon of salt per day, and the salt should be iodized. In other words, they want you to make fake salt, and they want you to significantly reduce your intake of salt. Guys, I could do a whole Jimmy Rants just on why that's stupid. If you're gonna get salt, you don't get the little girl with the umbrella, the Morton salt. Don't get that. That is industrialized, man-made salt. They do throw some iodine in there. Whoop-de-friggin-do. Go eat some seaweed and get all the iodine you need. Get something like Redmond's Real Salt. They're not a sponsor or anything, but they are a high-quality salt here in America in the mines of Utah. And it's really incredibly tasting, got lots of minerals and all kinds of things. And don't limit it to 5 grams per day. 1 teaspoon? Wow. Like, you're not loading up on salt, but you're certainly not skimping back on it. And for those of you that are fasting, you know how valuable salt can be. And when you're eating a ketogenic diet, your body tends to dump salt a little more, especially in the early days. That's why people tend to have like leg cramps and other ill effects of what's affectionately referred to as the keto flu. It's not keto flu at all. It's electrolyte imbalance because you need to eat more salt. And yet, if I say that in a video and it runs counter to what the WHO is saying here about diet, what would stop YouTube from yanking my video because it runs counter to the official proclamation of what World Health Organization says? You see how crazy this is? Like, none of that I just explained to you, their beliefs about a healthy diet for adults, none of that is based on any randomized controlled clinical trials. None. Yet you ask the average American, eat more fruits and vegetables? Yeah. Have healthy whole grains? Yeah. Cut down your saturated fat? Yeah. They believe it. even though there's never been any evidence that supports that. All right, so how about infants and young children? The first 2 years of a child's life, optimal nutrition fosters healthy growth, improves cognitive development. It also reduces the risk of becoming overweight and obese later. Advice on a healthy diet for infants and children is similar to the adults, but we add in the following elements. Infants should be breastfed exclusively during the first 6 months of life. I think that's great advice. Infants should be breastfed continuously until 2 years of age and beyond. That's not a bad idea. I know a lot of people in the breastfeeding community do recommend that. Interestingly, the macronutrient makeup of breast milk runs exactly counter, almost opposite of what the World Health Organization says is a healthy diet. There's a lot of saturated fat in breast milk. There is. So that's an inconvenient truth for the World Health Organization, who's telling people eat less saturated fat. You're not going to find seed oils, you're not going to find vegetable oils in breast milk. It is not there. You're not going to find healthy whole grains in breast milk. It's just not there. But there's a lot of saturated fat in there that's going to nourish their bodies and help them grow and make their brains function at a very high level. From 6 months of age, breast milk should be complemented with a variety of adequate, safe, and nutrient-dense foods. They do not describe what those things are. Salt and sugars should not be added to these foods. So, salt should be added, but the sugar definitely not. But they leave it to the imagination of the reader what adequate, safe, and nutrient-dense foods are. If you ask someone who eats carnivore, you're going to throw some meat in front of that kid. You ask someone who is a ketogenic diet proponent, they're going to put down some food that would fit within that mold, not obviously being keto per se, but having more on that real food template, maybe more of kind of a paleo style with some starches and things in there, probably okay for children. But they leave it to your imagination what that means. All right. Practical advice, again, reading from the World Health Organization on maintaining a healthy diet. Fruits and vegetables should be consumed in 5 portions per day. That will reduce your risk of disease and help to ensure an adequate daily intake of your dietary fiber. It can be improved by always eating vegetables at meals, always eating fresh fruit and raw vegetables as snacks, always eating fresh fruit and vegetables in season, and then always eating a wide variety of fruits and vegetables. I have a question. What if you're carnivore? What do you do then? Like, is carnivore the antithesis of the WHO diet? Obviously, yeah, because they're requiring it, always having these things. What about the fat intake? Reducing the amount of total fat to less than 30% of total energy helps to prevent unhealthy weight gain in the adult population. Again, they're under the auspice that weight gain is all about calories and energy intake versus energy output. And we know that's simply not true. We know the calorie hypothesis is an incomplete one. Doesn't mean you eat unlimited calories, you're not going to gain weight. Obviously, that's asinine. And I've never made that claim, even though people say that I do. But willy-nilly cutting your calories in the form of fat, just because fat has more calories than protein and carbohydrate, is also idiotic. But let's see what they have to say. The risk of developing disease is lowered when you reduce saturated fat to less than 10% of energy, reduce trans fats to less than 1% of energy, and replace saturated fat and trans fats with unsaturated fats, in particular, polyunsaturated fats. What are they talking about there? Vegetable oils, seed oils. You go into a grocery store and you're going to see aisle upon aisle upon aisle of corn oil and soybean oil and canola oil and oil, and it's all processed, highly processed, and incredibly inflammatory for your body. You ever want to have fun here on YouTube, those of you watching this on the replay, go look up, there's a show on the Discovery Channel called How It's Made. They did a whole segment on how canola oil is made. If you want to feel disgusted about seed oils and the production and how it gets processed into edible food for human, go watch that and you will never touch seed oils, vegetable oils, canola oil ever ever again. It is one of the most disgusting things you've ever seen in your life. And yet they want to glorify that as that's what you should be eating. Meanwhile, something like cream salt, which is butter, gets vilified. All at the holy grail of saturated fat. It's going to give you heart disease. This is messed up. And see, none of this advice that I'm reading from the World Health Organization about nutrition, none of it is scientific. It is all incredibly unscientific. And yet we're being told by the CEO of YouTube, oh, well, we have to follow the dictates of what WHO is saying because they are the grand wizards of everything, knowledgeable about everything. So if you run counter to them, we will remove your video. Can you see how scary that is in the United States of America, especially? Why do we abdicate our sovereignty over to a world organization like the World Health Organization rather than making these decisions for ourselves? That's what I would want to know from YouTube. Fat intake, especially from saturated and industrially processed trans fats, can be reduced by steaming or boiling instead of frying. Who wants to steam vegetables when you can slather butter and coconut oil on those bad boys? Or have you ever cooked like vegetables in ghee? Oh my, ghee is so good. Replacing butter, lard, and ghee with oils rich in polyunsaturated fats like soybean, canola, corn, safflower, and sunflower oils. I just explained about. Go Google, go look it up on YouTube. You're gonna get shocked. You'll never eat that crap again. Eat lots of butter, lard, and ghee though. Like, will I get in trouble because I just said go eat lots of butter, lard, and ghee? There's a friend of mine named Bob who calls himself Butter Bob. He doesn't do videos anymore, but he's got a lot of videos on YouTube. And he had a video called Butter Makes Your Pants Fall Off. And so go look that up if you've never seen it. He's a good country boy like me. And so butter makes your pants fall off. And he's just hilarious and very methodical in explaining things. I think he also did another one that said eating lard makes you lean or something like that. So are they going to remove those videos now from YouTube because that runs counter to what the World Health Organization is saying? Eating reduced fat dairy, 2% milk, skim milk. Like, give me like white colored water. That's what skim milk is. 2%. I'm like, what's the point? Just make it 0. Make it 100 or make it 0. Just, ugh. Lean meats, no thank you. I'm getting hungry just thinking about eating a chicken breast. I don't know how long it's been since I've had chicken breast. It's just all protein. There's no fat in there. If you're gonna eat meats, eat them in their natural state that has protein and fat mixed together. Why are we making these things lean by cutting out all the fat? Trimming all visible fat from meat. Again, why? The fat's on there for a reason. Do you think God is stupid? He has it on there for a purpose. And that purpose is to give energy to the humans that are eating it. Limit your consumption of baked and fried goods, prepackaged snacks and foods. Nobody's doubting that one. Salt, sodium, and potassium. This is interesting. Most people consume too much sodium through salt. No, they do not consume too much sodium through salt. What they do is they consume crappy garbage foods that are made with lots of processed salt. Very few people are consuming real salt. So think about the Redmond's real salt I was telling you about earlier. It's full of chalk, full of all kind of micro minerals and other nutrients in it besides the sodium. But when you're eating highly processed foods from fast food, from like frozen foods and things like that, they put a crap load of man-made salt in there. So are we going to now vilify sodium, salt, simply because people are generally getting their salt from these crappy sources? Or are we going to say, oh, if you're going to have salt, get a real form of salt, sea salt, Redmond's real salt, one of these salts, and that's okay not to limit. You can only eat so much of this real salt because it's so satisfying as well. And not enough potassium. They say we get less than 3.5 grams of potassium. So they want you to eat like lots of bananas. Although I will tell you, if you are missing potassium, one whole avocado has double the amount of potassium of a banana. It does. It's got like 980 milligrams compared to like 400 something for a banana. So if you need potassium, don't eat a banana. Too much sugar and starch in there. Have avocado, which has healthy monounsaturated fats and lots of potassium. High sodium intake and insufficient potassium contribute to high blood pressure, which in turn raises your risk of heart disease and stroke. Reducing salt intake to the recommended level of less than 5 grams per day, again that 1 teaspoon, could prevent 1.7 million deaths. They don't know that. That's based on epidemiological models. They have not done a randomized controlled clinical trial that shows that claim whatsoever. People are often unaware of the amount of salt that they consume. In many countries, most salt comes from processed foods, which is what I was just talking about, from foods consumed frequently in large amounts like bread. Salt is also added to foods during cooking like bouillon, stock cubes, soy sauce, fish sauce, and at the point of consumption when you put table salt on top of it as well. So they recommend reducing your salt intake by limiting salt and high sodium condiments when you're cooking and preparing foods, not having salt or high sodium sauces on the table at all, limiting the amount of salty snacks that you consume, and then choosing products with a much lower sodium content. When I'm in a store and I see low salt foods and I'm going, ugh, like they have bought into the lie. I wonder too, those companies that use salt in the products, they would never do this. I wonder if they started using like a real salt, like a pink Himalayan sea salt or a Redmond's real salt in their products, that they could end up using a little bit less actual salt because the flavor is so good. You know what I'm saying? That they could naturally reduce it without having to brag about being low salt. We could say better salt rather than low salt. Some food manufacturers are reformulating recipes to reduce sodium, and people should be encouraged to check all nutrition labels to see exactly how much sodium is in a product before you purchase it. Potassium can mitigate the negative effects of elevated sodium consumption on blood pressure. Intake of potassium can be increased by eating lots of fruits and vegetables. See, they don't give you specificity about what fruits and vegetables to consume. Like I said, an avocado far better for you than a banana. But when you ask people, where do you get potassium from? Oh, eat a banana. That's what we've always been told. Sugar. In both children and adults, the intake of free sugar should be less than 10% of total energy. A reduction to less than 5% would provide added benefits. Consuming free sugars increases the risk of dental caries, the tooth decay. Excess calories from foods and drinks high in free sugars also contributes to unhealthy weight gain, which leads people to become overweight or obese. Recent evidence also shows that it influences your blood pressure, your lipid levels, that's your cholesterol, suggests that a reduction in free sugars intake reduces risk factors for cardiovascular disease. Well, cutting sugar does some really good things in your body, especially on your cholesterol levels, inflammation levels, blood sugar levels, insulin levels, things that they never want to talk about until it's convenient for them to make a point. You want your triglycerides to go down, cut sugar. You want to have lower inflammation, cut sugar. You want to lower your blood sugar levels, cut sugar, obviously. Lower your insulin levels, cut sugar. You want to prevent things like fatty liver disease, cut your sugar. Most people who get fatty liver disease, they think it's because they're eating a lot of fat in their diet. World Health Organization also believes that, but that's not true. Fatty liver is not from high fat intake. Fatty liver comes because you consume a high amount of primarily fructose, which is getting in the body vis-a-vis high fructose corn syrup, which is in a lot of the sugary sodas out there. And so if you're eating a whole lot of those kinds of foods, and it's also drinks, and it's also in a lot of the processed foods that have high fructose corn syrup, candies and things like that, you're going to tax your liver to the point that it becomes fatty and you get diseased. Okay? So this is something that I think it's great that they talk about limiting sugar, but I don't even think they go enough. Limit the consumption of food and drinks that contain high amounts of sugars, like snacks, candies, and sugary beverages. Fruit juices, liquid and powder concentrates, flavored waters, energy and sports drinks, ready to drink tea, coffee, and milk products. And then eating fresh fruit and raw vegetables as snacks instead of sugary snacks. Again, I will emphasize, yes, fresh fruit is better than crappy garbage, but fresh fruit still has sugar. Let's not pretend like the fruit that's in sugar does not exist. My Keto Clarity co-author, Dr. Eric Westman, has a sign up on the wall in his office, in his clinic, in his medical clinic in Durham, North Carolina. It says, fruit is nature's candy. So you wouldn't purposely eat candy because, duh, it's got fruit, or it's got sugar in it. But fruit is the same way. It has sugar in it. There's nothing magical about natural sugars. It will naturally raise your blood sugar and insulin levels. So just be aware of that. Continuing to read from the World Health Organization about diet, how to promote healthy diets. Diet evolves over time, being influenced by many social and economic factors that interact in a complex manner to shape every diet pattern. These factors include your income, food prices, individual preferences, beliefs, cultural traditions, geographical, environmental, including climate change. They're big believers in that. That's why they're all vegans. Therefore, promoting a healthy food environment, which includes food systems that promote a diversified, balanced, and healthy diet that has no semantical meaning. They throw that out there, diversified, balanced, and healthy diet, like people know inherently what that means. But without defining what that means, it's left to the eyes of the beholder. And of course, they want you to infer it by reading all the rest of their crap. Requires the involvement of multiple sectors and stakeholders, including the government, the public, and private sector. Governments have a central role in creating a healthy food environment that enables people to adopt and maintain healthy dietary practices. Effective actions by policymakers to create a healthy food environment include the following. Listen to this. This is what the World Health Organization wants individual governments to make as official policy all around the world regarding diet. Creating coherence in national policies and investment plans, which include trade, food, and agricultural policies, so they can promote healthy diet, protect the public health through all of the following. Increase in incentives for producers and retailers to grow, use, and sell fresh fruits and vegetables. So they think if they give financial incentive for fruits and vegetables to be grown, that people would buy them more. And ostensibly, if there's more availability of those things, prices would come down because supply and demand, you got more supply, and maybe not as many people would buy. You'd have, demand would be lower, therefore prices should go lower. So that's a good thing in their minds. Reducing incentives for the food industry to continue to produce processed foods, such as one's high levels of saturated fat, trans fat, free sugars, and salt and sodium. I love how they always throw in saturated fats with trans fats and sugars and blah, 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 as if those two are the same. I think you have to separate saturated fat out of that because they're trying to make the claim that if it's got saturated fat in there, it's a highly processed food. And we know, especially meat products that have saturated fat in them, we know that it's not highly processed, minimally processed, yet they're trying to throw it in there. Encouraging reformulation of foods to reduce the content of saturated fat and all these other things with the goal of eliminating trans fats. Implementing the World Health Organization recommendations on the marketing of foods and non-alcoholic beverages to children. Establishing standards to foster healthy dietary practices through ensuring the availability of healthy, nutritious, safe, and affordable foods in preschool, schools, and other public institutions in the workplace. They're already doing that. Whenever the 2020 dietary guidelines come out later this year, that will be the basis by which all public schools will have to formulate the meals that they offer the kids. So whatever the mandates are of that food pyramid, it becomes official law on the plates of these kids at school. Like, they're already doing that, and it's disgusting. Exploring regulatory and voluntary instruments about marketing regulations and nutrition labeling, economic incentives or disincentives like taxation and subsidies to help promote a healthy diet. They have been trying so hard to put a sugar tax on foods. I have been vehemently opposed to a sugar tax. And you might think, what is a keto guy opposed to a sugar tax for? Here's why. You let them put a sugar tax on all things that they deem sugary, too sugary to consume because it's not healthy. What stops them from putting a tax on meat? What stops them from putting a added tax on whatever they want to that they deem as unhealthy? And then here's the million-dollar question. Literally billions of dollars will come in from this. Where does all that tax money go towards? I say if they do that, they're going to use it to propagandize people into why they need to be cutting back on meat, why they need to be doing this and that to be healthy. That is not, no. You're not going to tax anything when it comes to food to be a disincentive to people. Encouraging transnational, national, and local food services and catering outlets to improve the nutritional quality of foods that ensure the availability and affordability, blah, 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 blah. Encouraging consumer demand for healthy foods and meals through promoting consumer awareness of a healthy diet, what I was just talking about with this tax. They're going to try to educate all of us on how we're supposed to be consuming food because we numbskulls out here don't know what we're doing. That's pretty much what they're doing here. That's pretty much, too, what the CEO of YouTube is saying by removing any videos that they find run counter to what the World Health Organization is promoting out there. They're basically saying, you, the YouTube consumer, are too stupid to watch a video and realize that you can think for yourself to believe or not believe this information. So propaganda will become a big part of this. They're admitting that's exactly what they want to do here, you guys. Develop school policies and programs encouraging children to adopt a healthy diet. Again, their definition of what a healthy diet is, not what is actually a healthy diet. Educating children, adolescents, and adults about nutrition and healthy dietary practices. Encouraging culinary skills, including children in schools. I love that children would learn how to cook, but again, are you teaching them bad principles about the nutrition, not just how to cook? Supporting point of sale information, including through nutrition labeling that ensures accurate, standardized, and comprehensible information, with the addition of front of packaging labeling to facilitate consumer understanding and to provide nutrition and dietary counseling at the primary healthcare facilities. Again, you go see your doctor. Oh, let me tell you all about what the World Health Organization says about a healthy diet. And so the average patient comes in, oh, World Health Organization, oh, wow, they must be really about health. And they're going to buy hook, line, sinker, whatever their doctor, nurse practitioner, physician's assistant tells them. Don't doubt me on that. That's what they want to do. They're telling us in this official policy about nutrition. Promoting appropriate infant and young child feeding practices through implementing the marketing of breast milk substitutes and subsequent relevant World Health Assembly resolutions, policies, practices to protect the working mothers, blah, 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 blah. All right. So what do you think about this? This is their official policy on their website, you guys, when it comes to diet. And if you missed the beginning, the reason I'm talking about this, the CEO of YouTube went on CNN this week, and she pretty much was talking about the COVID-19 conspiracy theories and alternative health messages being put out there. I put it all over my social media channels today. And she pretty much said, if you run counter to what the World Health Organization is saying regarding things related to COVID-19, we will happily, in our policy, remove your video and delete your account. Okay? So because of that, I saw this little graphic that was put out by the World Health Organization. Yeah, it got cut off at the top and bottom, but the World Health Organization actually put this out this week. And it's nutrition advice for adults during COVID-19. And I just gave you the extended version of what this little graphic showed. But in the extended version, you hear all the details. But they said eat unsaturated fats, don't eat saturated fats, and don't eat fake food trans fats. So I have been promoting against all of those things for years. What, under this new policy, would stop them from deleting all my videos, right? What the World Health Organization believes about nutrition, which I just detailed for you over the past 30, 40 minutes here, it's just unscientific. There's literally no solid randomized controlled clinical trials that proves any of that is true. And see, the average public doesn't know that. They just think, oh, low fat. Oh yeah, low fat. It's been around forever. Of course, it's been vetted by science. Do you know there's not one single study that shows low fat diet is good for anything, weight loss or health? Yes, you can lose weight cutting calories and cutting fat, but that's not the whole story. The whole story is what's happening metabolically inside of you. And there's plenty of evidence that has been out there for a lower carb diet being very good for various things in your health and in your weight. So why isn't that the policy of the World Health Organization? All right, I definitely want to see what you guys have to say. Welcome in, welcome in. We're going to go to Instagram Live first. We'll come over to you guys here on Facebook here in just a minute. Thank you all for being here today. But JimmyRants.com is the website. You want to see all the past episodes of this here show. Mama Three Chicks, YouTube seems to be confirming what you posted the other day. Yeah, the other day I was talking about lots of abnormalities going on with the variety of social media. I'm still blocked out of my Living La Vida Low Carb page on Facebook. I'm still having a whole lot less traffic here on Instagram. Like usually I have a very modicum number that I know come in a certain amount of time. It's not happening here on Instagram. On YouTube, those of you watching this on the replay, I have seen, if you've tried to subscribe, so if you're watching this on YouTube and you're not getting the notifications of my videos anymore, several of my followers there says unsubscribe and then resubscribe and you'll start getting the content again. For some reason there was a glitch. Somebody said they might be working on like a new algorithm and they're rolling it out. So I don't know. All I know is things are strange out there. They are. Who is who, says Kat. Yeah. Yeah, who are they? They're a bunch of vegan activists is what they are. And I think the sooner we realize that, the sooner all this starts to make sense. Anna says fructose is sugar. Exactly. It is. Dan says naturally occurring trans fats in animal products. Yes, it's true. But it's not bad for you. I think the processed ones that they put in the processed foods are the ones that are the problematic ones. But if it's naturally occurring in real food, then I wouldn't worry about it. Mama Three Chicks, glad I'm seeing this live, may just disappear soon after. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm doing this live. It's going to go up on YouTube shortly after I'm done. I don't know. Will they deem this being misinformation about COVID-19? I don't know. I didn't put COVID-19 in the title anywhere, so I don't know how they would find it, but we will see. Mom from Detroit says, listening to older podcasts, you mentioned you are lonely. Is your wife quarantined with you? No, I'm currently separated from her, as I've stated many times before, and we ask that you respect our privacy. Thank you. Debbie says, the WHO wants population control. Giving us the wrong advice gets people sick, very sick. That's true. It does, it does. Yellow-eyed one, people are trusting what is on the television. So sad. Yeah, they are. And I think it's time we start waking up. Like I'm not one of those people that's that rabid, wake up people, we're being lied to. Oh my gosh, they're coming to get us. And I'm not one of those kind of people, but I do think if you're putting your head in the ground and pretending like nothing is going on here, you're kind of letting it pass you by and you're gonna get hit, which is why I'm talking about it in the way that I am talking about it. Keto Court, I've been keto for over a year and now carnivore for several months. I'm off of my blood pressure medications, but still pushing borderline most of the time. That's a general question that they want to know how you can help be more consistent. Fridays is when I do general questions. Today I'm sticking to the topic down there on the pin post. So come back tomorrow, we will do general questions. Yellow-eyed one, once upon a time I thought fatty liver was from fat. Oh my goodness, I hope everyone can get the right knowledge. Yeah. I will continue to shout that one from the mountaintops because people think, oh, it's fat in there. It must be from the fat you eat. Au contraire, it's from the sugar. Anyone protesting lockdown or causing more death? Well, I'm not protesting the lockdown. Thank you for that comment. But I personally am not protesting the lockdown. I think it's done a lot of good. But I do think we need to have a reasonable discussion around it rather than just silencing people for even saying anything like that. Why don't we engage them and say, okay, why do you believe that? Okay, you believe that? Well, here's why we believe this. And you have a discussion. This is what's kind of crazy to me about the willy-nilliness of removing YouTube videos simply because it goes against the official narrative. Okay, it's okay to question and ask questions. Since when in America did it become a crime to question and debate of ideas? I mean, isn't that what America was founded on, and having these debates? Last time I checked, U.S. Constitution, First Amendment, freedom of speech. Anita says, are they also removing the videos of young people having eating the Tide Pods? Are they still doing that? Like, Thank you for this video, says Tanya. You're spot on. Love your videos. Thank you. Shirley says, I heard Trump cut the funding from who? From someone who thought he had lost his mind. He thought they were doing a terrible job. I'm not political, but I thought that was great to hear. Yeah, he did that last week. I mentioned it on Jimmy Rants last week on the day that he did that. And yeah, he did. And America was about 40% of their budget, you know, and so all of this stuff that they're putting out, these little graphics and stuff, yeah, it's bought and paid for by a lot of American dollars. And so, yeah, I you know, whatever you think about our president, I thought that was a really good move. If you had to leave YouTube, where would you share your info? So, Mom from Detroit, that's why we created JimmyRants.com. All of that is on our own server. So all the videos are up on JimmyRants.com. If you don't know, I got deleted from YouTube in August last year, just before I went away on my 6-month sabbatical. They deleted my channel without cause, without any kind of warning. They just deleted it. Now, they keep it on hand. They ended up bringing it back because enough of my YouTubers raised fit, and they brought it back realizing they made a mistake, but they just yanked it. So we're ready for them this time. We did create JimmyRants.com and have a dedicated server just for all these videos. So they'll always be at JimmyRants.com. But thank you for that question. All right, let's pop over here to Facebook, see what you guys have to say. Hey guys, what's going on? Let's scroll back to the top. Good morning, good morning. Thanks for being here. YouTube video was really great. Thank you, Norma. Is there an alternative to YouTube? There are several alternatives out there. My problem with the alternatives to YouTube isn't that they don't go up. I mean, there's Vimeo, there's some other ones out there that they don't care what you put up. They just leave it up. And it's why I created JimmyRants.com. But yeah, there are alternatives. But the problem is, it's like Google. When you tell somebody go look something up on the internet, where do they go? They go to Google. Now, I know there's Bing and there's some other places you could go, but people always say, you know, go Google it. Same with YouTube. You know, oh, you want to look something up? Go YouTube it. Go look it up. And so that's the problem. You kind of get lost on these other sites, whereas YouTube, pretty much everybody has recognition of that. I guess this rant isn't going to make it on YouTube, says Berkeley. Well, we're going to throw it up there and see what happens. Danielle says, thank you for consistently doing what you do. I will always speak truth. That's one thing you'll get from me. I have literally always been that way in all that I do in all my work. So I love sharing this kind of information. And I guess I am teetering on the edge of, will they delete it? Will they not delete it? Samantha, what happened to freedom of speech? Since when do we have to all agree on anything, much less what to eat? This is insane. Yeah, unfortunately, it's the reality we're living in. Chris says, why would they tax something that they subsidize? They do it all the time. What fresh fruits and vegetables are in season in the winter? Exactly. There's not any, and definitely not on a local level where it's snow everywhere. What about Alaska, like where it stays snowy most of the year? What would be local, seasonal, fresh fruits and vegetables there? Doesn't make sense. Patty says low fat is what has made us all so fat. Before they started pushing, you didn't see obese people. Yeah, low fat did the unintended consequence, or maybe intended consequence, of pushing people to carbohydrates. And so low-fat diets really did start the boom of obesity really going up big time. And it's because when you take away the fat, you can only eat just so much protein. The only other macronutrient left was carbohydrate. And so we already started eating a whole lot more carbohydrates, all under the guise of healthy whole grains, and we got bigger and bigger. What's the point of the quarantine? To slow the spread, not keep people from getting it? Yeah, that's a whole nother question for a whole nother day, Chris. So not touching that one with a 10-foot pole. All right, let's see if there's any other comments over here on Instagram. Nope. All right, so guys, you're going to be hearing a lot about this, and I hope you're paying attention. And again, if you missed the very beginning, YouTube, the CEO of YouTube, went on CNN this week, and she boldly said, look, if we see any videos show up on YouTube that are spreading misinformation regarding COVID-19, and she cited in the clip that vitamin C or curcumin helps to cure COVID-19. I've never seen anybody say either one of those things. She said that would be considered a policy violation. But then she made the comment, or if you say anything that runs counter to what the World Health Organization is stating. So the World Health Organization has chimed in on what nutrition you should be eating for adults during COVID-19. And it's all about eating unsaturated fats, not eating saturated fats, not eating processed trans fatty foods. So what would stop them from coming after us that promote eating butter, eating meat, not eating polyunsaturated fats? Gonna be interesting is all I gotta say. So if I'm still around, we'll be back again real soon with another Jimmy Rants. That's it for this episode of Jimmy Rants. JimmyRants.com is the website. And as always, you can pop on over to Instagram. That is where we start the show. Instagram Live at 11 a.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday. Go check it out. We sometimes throw a 5 p.m. one in as well. Take the weekends off. But go check it out, you guys. Livin' Low Carb Man. LIVIN LOWCARBMAN. And engage live. We love all the people who watch here live on Jimmy Rants. If you missed the live, you can watch it on replay for up to 24 hours on Instagram. We also throw it up on simulcast on my Facebook page, so thank you guys for being here as well. If you missed the live, you can also go to jimmyrants.com. We put the video up there. And for now, it's up on YouTube. If you type in a keyword Jimmy Rants, you will find the show. Again, for now. Hopefully it stays up, but for now. All I can say is I will eat what I want to eat, and it's not what they recommend, says Lena. You go, girl. I'm right there with you. All right, guys. Until next time, we'll see you then.